Yo, what is up, buddies? Today I will be sharing with you how you can leverage your own unique personality to stand out on social media and create content to ultimately have opportunities come to you instead of you seeking them out. So let's hop right in. And I also drew all the wonderful illustrations you see on this presentation. So for our agenda for today, I will go through a brief introduction. Would love to know about yourself in the comments as well. The foundations of personal branding, how you can take these pieces to build your own brand based on what you already have, your wonderful personality, and how you want to express that on social media and in your designs, and designing your personal brand, like putting together your typography, your mood board, your styles, and some LinkedIn best practices for your profile and post ideas, and happy to answer any Q&A you have in the comments as well. So I'm Grace. I founded this community called Design Buddies. Currently in 3.5 years, we have 60,000 members on Discord, and I run partnerships for it. I actually started Design Buddies when I was a student. And currently I'm also a UX designer in the games industry, working on products for content creators. My background's actually in computer science and bioengineering. I am a career transitioner. I'm a self-taught designer, create a lot of content on social media since I was in high school back in 2014, and today I mainly focus on design and career content on LinkedIn, as well as lifestyle and travel on Instagram, and I still draw. Born and raised in California, Silicon Valley, SF Bay area. All views my own and do not represent any of the stances of Design Buddies or EA. Would love to know what are y'all's backgrounds as well, so comment them in the chat. And I will also be floating across this little lovely presentation video for y'all today as well with this lovely tool called Loom. So for my brief history, growing up, I really wanted to be an anime artist. I actually struggled a lot in school. I found like test taking, academics, memorizing things really challenging. So my dream was to become an anime artist and a game designer when I was a kid. However, being born and raised in Silicon Valley, all the adults are like Grace, or like fellow kids, you gotta be like doctor, engineer, lawyer. So I actually went into STEM. Which I don't regret. I got into bioengineering because when I was in high school, my mother, she started paying me to go to the gym with her, and I used to describe myself as a couch potato, but I started going to the gym with my mother because I was getting, and then I discovered I was really fast at running, and I joined cross country and track, got really fast, made it to nationals, broke some school records, which still stand to this day, and that actually inspired my major of bioengineering and pre-med because I want to learn how to biohack myself to run faster, but I branded it as pre-med to sound prestigious. However, I realized after, talking to a lot of med students and doctors, I realized that life, and doing some internships as well, that wasn't the life I wanted, so I pivoted over to game design and computer science because I wanted to make games. And I did a couple of internships in like more software engineering, game dev, realized that like I was really slow at coding, which for me, I didn't really have the patience or the passions to solve any logical coding problems. So that's how I fell into UI UX design, because I felt like design really combines my background in art as well as engineering and problem solving. So that's why I love design. And I know a lot of y'all probably pivot from different career fields, and I feel like I don't think it was a waste of time to pursue something different because everyone's experience builds on top of each other. So don't feel behind. And along the way, I've always had a lot of side hustles outside of school and work because I could never focus on one thing. So I've actually been on social media since I was, I was probably more serious about social media in 2014 on Tumblr days, talked about running. And then for a short year or so, I had an art business. I made merch like enamel pins, stickers, and charms, sold at my anime conventions, tabled that and then I fell into Design Buddies, community building, and building a lot of in real life in-person communities these days as well. And I also would love to know in the chat or in the comments what made y'all want to get into UX. And now, the first section, I'll talk about foundations, how you want to build your personal brand. And what is a brand? So I would describe a brand as like a feeling, a personality. How do you define a brand? For example, Nike, just do it. you see it, you want to go out, go for a run. Apple, you feel very like fancy, very designy, things like that as well. So I would describe it as like a perception experience, kind of like a personality as well, or I would say vibe. And like personal brand is essentially these elements of traditional companies using brands to apply to your own self as well. And, you know, I feel like these are just some examples of folks who have pretty strong personal branding. For example, I know Elon Musk. I know a lot of people like probably agree or disagree with things he says, but I cannot deny my opinion that I think his Twitter helps definitely market Tesla a lot. I know I read somewhere that Tesla doesn't really do ads, but Elon Musk tweets brings in a lot of sales. So that's how example personal branding. So yeah, just look at some examples of people with strong personal brands. And usually when you want to think about how you want to define your personal brand is how do you want to make people feel when you show up? Like, do you want maybe people to feel like you're very funny, you're very hardworking, you're very detail oriented, you really want to work in the games industry, and what do people say when you leave the room? And essentially, you already have your brand. You just need to know how to package it in a way that means. So I would say it's like an extension of your personality, and no need to be perfect. Everyone's always learning and growing. It's always iterative. So what you are right now, don't feel the need to be perfect. We're all on our own journey, so it's never final. It's always iterative. It can always change. We learn, we grow, open-mindedness, we change. Why you want to carry a personal brand is, you know, job market can be tough out there with all these layoffs and all, but it helps you really stand out in competition, with competition. And also sharing your knowledge online and growing your brand helps you cement your knowledge, helps you become better at presenting as well. And also putting yourself out there helps people similar to you find out, and reach out to you. So has helped me build a lot of friends on the internet. Also, putting myself out there, being loud and proud has led me to be featured on the media, as well as like Times Square, Wall Street Journal, because they all found me through social media and my brand presence. Also, if y'all are into like freelancing, having a strong brand can help you attract more clients, charge a premium, and generate more leads because people know who you are and people kind of trust you based on how you present yourself. So confidence matters a lot as well. And I would say personal branding, I know self-promotion could be, like maybe some people like don't really like promoting themselves out there, but I wouldn't really say it's like self-promotion, like kind of blatantly self-promoting yourself. I would say it's like expressing yourself on the internet and in person to help you find similar people to connect with. And these are just some steps I'll go through if you want to build your brand from scratch. The first part, you really want to define who you are. What are your core values? And this ultimately shapes into your mission statement. Like, what are your goals? Is your goal to land a job, to gain more clients, just to make friends? Seeking more public speaking engagements, could be more. And knowing your target audience and your story also helps you present yourself too. And your mission statement is essentially, what do you do? What kind of niche, what kind of business do you want to be in? Like, for example, do you want to work in healthcare? Do you want to work in the games industry? And who do you serve? Who is your target audience? And how is the world different as a result of your impact? So for my example, for me, I like to create experiences that help people make meaningful connections in design. I run design buddies. At EA, I also work on products for content creators, helping them connect and get paid. And so you can think of a mission statement as like the thesis statement, how you want to present yourself. And some examples of different mission statements is like you specialize in e-commerce, you want to prioritize accessibility. If you're into gaming, you are really great at storytelling and creating like memorable and engaging experiences. And it's also how you tell your story. Doing things, continue to tell people about it, being loud and proud, and don't leave it to someone else to tell your story. Now talk a bit about expressing your brand, how you want to present yourself out there on social media and in person. So there's different ways, different little homes on the internet you can have your brand. Typically have a home base or your website or a portfolio site where you have everything. And then also how you want to meet other people, network, get people to connect with you. I found LinkedIn and Instagram particularly successful in like the job hunting and like the freelancing scene. And you can also try out different platforms like Twitter, Snapchat, Instagram stories, talk about more things that inspire you. And then you can also post your content in some groups and communities. I know like Facebook groups, LinkedIn groups, Discord groups like Design Buddies, to help you meet more people as well. And so for your home base or your portfolio, you really want to include like your favorite or the best projects that showcases your work, including your process, how you solve problems, how people would get a sense of working with you, how you think. Also, how you want to tell your own story, like in your about page, who you are, what you do, and also some ideas. Maybe you want to write some blog articles about that too. You can also have that. And this is an example of my website. It's just grace-ling.com, so feel free to visit that for an example. And these are just some things you can also be mindful to include on your social media. And these are some examples of my bio on LinkedIn, for example. I like to kind of add some emojis and add a lot of spacing so it's easy to read. And each paragraph is intentional. So I start with like who I am, what do I do? Second paragraph, like what kind of things do I work on? Third paragraph, like what other things do I like to do outside of work that I'm really proud of? And then a bit about my background as well, including my educational background, so people can get like a story of who I am and how I got to where I am today. I also like to talk about some accomplishments, like having done a lot of speaking engagements, being featured on a lot of different places, and then different links that I want people to connect with me on as well. And then on like Instagram and Twitter, I would just shorten that a little bit because of the character limit and just make it very skimmable, really brief description of what I like to do and maybe what kind of content people can expect from me. And for my content, how I like to think about posting on social media is I like to tell a story because humans connect with stories. And just being yourself, it's good to see other people's content as inspiration, but don't feel the need to like copy them 100% because you're your own unique person. You have your own stories and perspectives to share that are just as cool. And also, social media, I feel like it's like a two-way street. It's a really great way to connect with others, engaging with the community, meeting others, supporting them, commenting on their stuff, liking them, and also keeping up with trends as well, seeking what's popping out there. And ultimately, I feel like the goal of it is just give value, growing a community, sharing knowledge, not expecting anything in return, and just positive vibes, and being consistent with it as well also helps. And also adding a call to action, like what do you want people to do? Like what are your goals? Do you want to get a new job? Do you want more people to subscribe to your newsletter? Using visuals, hashtags also help as well in timing. And I would just use these as a lot of experimenting. And don't use too many, and just being open-minded to experiment. And how you want to think about, later on this talk, I will go through more different examples where you can find different content inspirations, but in a nutshell, if you don't know where to start, you can talk about like maybe experience you had, like maybe you recently got a new job. You can talk about what worked, what didn't work, what are your lessons. You can talk about how you got into design. You can share some works in progresses, your engagements and what's poppin' in your local community, your inspiration, your life, and more. And for how I like to go about deciding what kind of content to put out is I want to make sure it adds value to others, whether it's like giving them a practical new skill or making them feel less alone or making them laugh, making them feel inspired. So some kind of value I really want to add, and just being original. Everyone's so different and don't feel the need to copy someone, and always testing things out. Like sometimes things will work, sometimes things don't. But honestly, I feel like the fun really is the process of showcasing yourself and not having to follow any specific formula. So these are just some guidelines to help you get started. Yeah, so some content types that could be like useful, practical tips. They could be funny, inspiring, critical. Like let's just say you have a controversial hot take on something. You want to share more about it or know what other people feel about it as well. These are some more of my examples. I have a link that I can share with more. And really, I know I talked about some kind of best practices for the algorithm. It can be really stressful, but honestly, I feel like the goal, at least for me, for content creation is to connect with relevant people, intentionally connect with people. The algorithm optimizing for it does help your content reach more people, but I wouldn't say it's the end-all be-all. So I'll just focus on what your content is instead of always trying to stress about the algorithm, because it's quality over quantity in the connections you have on social media and in life as well. And so different social media sites also have different tones of voice and different mediums of content you can explore too. For example, on Instagram, it's more like a visual gallery. On LinkedIn, it's a great place, I would say my favorite social media to help make meaningful connections. At least in my experience, I've gotten the most opportunities, met the coolest people on LinkedIn and Instagram too. Instagram's great, it's very visual. Facebook, a lot of people still use Facebook. I'm in some Facebook groups, they're still pretty active. Twitter's still popping, despite what people say about Elon or X, you know. I still feel like it's a great place to meet people and post content on there as well. For longer form type of content, you can also house them on like your portfolio, maybe a blog or a newsletter or a vlog. If you're really into like video, you can talk about that, or even a podcast as well to really dig deep into some topic you really want to share. And then, yeah, I feel like social media is all about engaging with others, finding similar people, connecting, helping each other out. And then how you want to get started. I feel like if you don't really know where to start, I would start by just following people, like seeing what's out there, learning about what people are posting, what people are talking about. And then to kind of make your first post, you can also like repost and add your own thoughts to it. And then also commenting on other people's posts, adding your own perspective and conversations there, connecting with others that way. And then that hopefully gives you a lot of inspirations to help you create your own content and then continue to connect with others of similar interests. It's good vibes. Here are just some personal branding resources that I've learned from, and feel free to take a screenshot. Now talk about designing your brand. How do you want to visually present yourself? So these are some brand elements you can apply to yourself. And so for colors, colors, I want to preface this by saying that a lot of colors have different definitions based on cultures, but these are just some common meanings of different colors to help you get started on what kind of colors palette you want to bring. Honestly, for me, I liked blue and purple because I just like those colors, and they happen to mean peace, loyalty, trust, competence, ambition. So I would just kind of pick 2 or 3 different primary colors you want to play around with your brand as well, and you can use these colors. You use these colors like on your LinkedIn cover photo, on your portfolio, on your resume to make a cohesive brand. And then for fonts, they can also influence your tone of voice as well. You can also add different patterns and textures. Like I love this little speech bubble one. I have it a lot in my deck, and it's also on my portfolio because I love social media, talking with others, community building, conversations, and that's the inspiration behind that. These little speckles is like a little toy box from Design Buddies because we like being playful, we like being fun, bright colors, happy, design, learning, community. Learning design is fun, and emphasizing that. And so that's kind of the meaning behind these patterns and textures, which you can also pull inspiration from as well. In photography, you can also have a consistent style of it throughout your brand. Like these are just some of my many Instagram accounts. Not all of them are still active. And also different illustrations and iconography as well to help people like recognize it. So like curating your Instagram feed so it like matches is also helps you make a stronger first impression. So I'll talk about your LinkedIn profile. We love LinkedIn. So your profile has many different elements on it. And for your headline, it's like what people see. It shows up when you post and all of your posts. So I feel like optimizing your headline is important to make meaningful first impressions. So for example, my headline, I like describe what the 2 main things I'm working on. And like I also like to illustrate. I'm also a content creator and speaker. So I like to describe that because my goal of LinkedIn is to also make friends, as well as on the business side, gain more partnerships and sponsorships with Design Buddies. And also it helps my full-time job. I'm still a UX designer, so I sometimes, like if I'm ever looking for a new design role or want recruiters to reach out to me so I can let them hire people from Design Buddies, so I have a UX designer there as well. I also like to draw and create content and would love to do I love doing public speaking opportunities. That's why I put speaker on there as well. So I'm very, very intentional about what I put in my headline for the results that I seek to put. And so some examples, if y'all are really into a niche like healthcare, you can mention that as well. You can also put your hobbies in there to help people connect with you on a more personal level. And so for my bio, also including relevant keywords for search engine optimization also helps as well. And so for your experiences, essentially, it helps to create, it's like your resume, but extended. So it helps to include relevant metrics. So whenever possible, try to find numbers. So I actually took these from my annual performance review self-summary, obviously getting permission to share all of it online, not filing any NDAs, but if y'all work somewhere, have annual performance reviews, you can just copy and paste that with permission from your employer on your LinkedIn, because, work smart, not hard. And find ways to quantify your impact with numbers. For example, did your redesign generate 500% in sales? Did you run any internal workshops to help employees improve their productivity? So any metrics that help generate revenue or save time for the business. So anything that correlates to more money or productivity also helps as well, but just as extension of your resume, include numbers, skills you used on your experiences section too. And any links and references to work you would like to share. Now I'll talk about some ideas I can post in a fun fig jam that I will share with you, so you can add your own ideas and collaborate together as well. So I would say LinkedIn is kind of like a micro-blogging platform, not really short form, not really long blog articles. I think there's a word limit on there as well. Definitely the posts there have a longer time span than a lot of other social media platforms. So some ideas you can start with right now is your career journey, even your journey so far. What is your background? What did you study? What got you interested in it? What kind of skills you gained? So this is a great opportunity to flex the skills that, if you're a career transitioner, the skills that you gain from other industries that cross over to design. For example, if you worked in healthcare or you worked in research, those are really great skills. You worked in customer service. You're really good at interacting with people because you interface with. That's a strength, because as a UX designer, you work with a ton of different people every day. Maybe some challenges you went through, some successes you had, some lessons you learned. You can also talk about kind of any experience you had. Could be you attended a design event, you watched a video, you want to share some takeaways. You can totally do this with my video and tag me as well on LinkedIn. I will definitely comment or react to it so my network will see it too. You can even talk about your experiences going to a new country, traveling, what you learned. Maybe you ran a cool race, you ran a marathon, you went to a music festival, you bought a house, moved to a new city, graduated from a degree. So these are just stories of some experiences you had. And then how you can turn into a valuable post is maybe framing a story, talk about the challenges you faced, how you overcame them, what did you learn? And also you want to also help build connections, so it can end with a question. For example, if you ever moved to a new city, what lessons did you learn? Or what was the thing you least expected to start a community building or connection with your network too. And also talk about what y'all are working on. Not limited design. You can talk about are you training for a marathon? What did you learn? And honestly, I love seeing people's personalities on LinkedIn. People are way more than what they do for work, and you're way more interesting than what you're studying in school or your job title. So feel free to talk about your passions and hobbies too. It helps people get to know you personally and maybe help people connect with you more. You can talk about what your goals are and maybe some learnings and skills. For example, I was a Division 1 cross-country track runner. I learned a lot about consistency, grit, motivation from running that really cross over to me and I guess the corporate world today. So here's some examples of how you can link your hobbies to professional development for that LinkedIn more professional network on there. You can also talk about some career advice. You don't need to have many years of experience. You can also talk about what you would tell your younger self, your student self, your high school self. Just things like that as well. You can also talk about like what's trending, some recent tech, like what do you think about AI? How do you think it's going to change the way we work? Maybe like VR, AR, data privacy, personalization, and how these like trends and new technological advancements influence your interests and perspectives as a designer. And maybe like you attended like cool AI and design event, what did you learn from it? And then sometimes you can look at the LinkedIn news section to see what's poppin', and maybe if you have an opinion or some things to add to it, you can also talk about that as well as ideas. Maybe you can also talk about your inspirations. It's not limited to design. Let's just say you traveled to a new city, you got inspired by the architecture, or you met some cool people, you got inspired from a conversation to work on your goals and something. You can talk about, what inspires you. You can talk about some story from long ago, like nostalgia. Like one of my random viral posts is actually about MapleStory. It was my 11-year anniversary of gaining max level 200 on MapleStory. And I talked about how MapleStory inspired me to work in the games industry, what I loved about it. Kind of connecting the past and the present as a nice little story. It's also fun as well because lots of people, they really resonate with things that are nostalgic. Also, I like to post stuff that are reflective. For example, recapping the year. So December coming up, great time to recap your 2023. What did you learn? What went well? What didn't go well? What are your goals for next year? And also, self-promotion is not a bad thing. You gotta advocate for yourself. So, for example, if you're looking for jobs, looking for people to buy your products, looking to start your newsletter, definitely don't be afraid to share that. Let's just say you are now in the market for a job. You can talk about who you are, what kind of job you're looking for, and just put yourself out there. And honestly, I know a big fear people have is the concern about what other people will think. And I just what my response is, those with negative things to share about you are not your target audience, and it is okay. There's so many great people in this world. I know it's humans. It's really easy totally normal to kind of get stuck on the very few people who are negative and forget about the majority of nice people out there. But you don't live life to please everyone, and it's okay. So just keep advocating for yourself, and then moving forward in life. You can also post videos on LinkedIn. I've seen people post introducing themselves, a video cover letter, and doing LinkedIn lives is also really fun too. And also you can also talk about after if you read a cool article, talk about what you learned from it. And you can also write your own articles on LinkedIn. I know LinkedIn also has a newsletter feature too. And then when I think about how I want to promote myself, I think about 80% of my posts as adding value and maybe 20% as promoting myself. And then I also like to repurpose content from other social media and just not directly copy and paste, but kind of adjust the voice and tone because, work smart, not hard. For example, on Twitter, I can also turn some tweets into my LinkedIn posts, some blog, cross-post them on LinkedIn, and so on. And the best time to post really depends on your audience, but for me, I'm on Pacific time, I'm in California, most of my audience is in North America. I've noticed just weekdays, morning times, the best time to post, but test it out yourself. And then I also have a fun interactive activity. You can go to this tiny URL, which will take you to this FigJam file where you can add your LinkedIn content ideas based on these different categories. So love to see that. I will drop the link in the comments. And I would love for y'all, if y'all want a LinkedIn post, just talk about what you learned from this talk. On LinkedIn, tag me. I will react and comment to it so it gets seen in my network as well, and I might feature it too. And I also have an upcoming course coming up. I just finished the first cohort, but I will launch a new one this January. So it'll be fun. It's going to be 4 weeks this time about content creation for UX designers, how you can stand out in this competitive job market. It's interactive. I'll be giving you a one-on-one feedback and help you slay your LinkedIn content creation game and ultimately hopefully land your dream job through, I will be sharing everything I learned to essentially get into a big tech company without applying, and through posting consistently on LinkedIn, building a strong brand, and networking too. So getting a job without applying. So yeah, just kind of sharing my knowledge about what has helped me in the past, and hopefully I would love it to. It would make me happy if I see it help you as well. But yeah, so feel free to let me know any questions you have, connect with me on any of my platforms, feel free to reach out, DM, talk about anything, any questions, and thanks for watching.